Hello, everybody, and welcome to another PNW Affliction narration. This episode of the me narrating books is narrated in front of a live streaming audience. Nothing in these books should be taken as medical, dental, vision, or legal, or driving advice. And with that, let's go. This is book number 8, Summer and Winter. It is a fire and snow rural adventure. The legalese, no, this is book number 8. It's not book number 7, don't get confused. And the legalese, all rights reserved. No portion of this book may be reproduced in any form without permission from the author except as permitted by U.S. copyright law. This is a work of fiction. Names, characters, businesses, places, events, and incidents are either the product of the author's imagination or used in a fictitious manner. Any resemblance to actual persons living or dead or actual events is purely coincidental. I write post-apocalypse stories, therefore portions of these stories are intended for mature audiences. There's about as much romance as you would expect in a typical post-apocalypse scenario. Explicit sexual acts where included are germane to the story and not intended to be gratuitous or fetishized. There isn't really any hard swearing worse than what you hear on cable. There's a moderate range of violence as would be expected in a post-apocalypse story. However, the suffering aspects are not deliberately glamorized or embellished upon. Please enjoy responsibly. Forward. Everyone thought bug-out plans were a joke, even if they didn't come around and say it. Everyone wanted a bug-out plan, they never practiced it. Then it wouldn't be good enough for a specific area. Nobody would step up and help finish it. Everyone else trying to work on it would be wrong or would be incomplete and thus invalid, not worth trying. Then, if it was good enough, they'd take the plan and not include you anyway. That's the difference between theory and reality. There are the people that think something's better than nothing, and the others that will criticize everything until it meets the unobtainable goal of perfection. We didn't need perfection, we just needed something that would work enough to get us out, because there's no such thing as a perfect plan, and they never survive first contact anyway. Chapter 1, Classroom Storytime, 3 years after the collapse, late winter, early spring. I was teaching class again in our stronghold, which is my usual thing to do. I was really enjoying the teaching gig. We'd just got done doing some arts and crafts. Some of the kids wanted to nap, which I let them. It was snowing outside. The bitter winter we'd been guessing would come finally came. The passes were completely closed off for at least a few months. We had some plows, but they stopped doing it because it was too dangerous. The mountain range wasn't lava-y, which was good. The volcanoes all went back to being dormant and sort of just sat there, pouting as snow gathered on them. More snow and more snow. We'd had greenhouses, though, and everything was canned and jarred up, so we were quite prepared for this. We couldn't splurge on food, but at least nobody had to go hungry. With the fuel from the coast's oil rig and refinery, we were able to get enough tractors running to get everyone fed. Then when the electricity kicked back on, we could go back to pumping the natural gas to heat our homes as well. We had to take all kinds of special precautions to make sure our pipes didn't freeze now that the water was running again. That was quite the exercise. We completely winterized the main house. I'd done that before when I lived in this busted-up duplex for a few years. It would literally get colder inside than outside until I figured it out. The windows all had clear plastic sheets covering them, and all the seals had been redone, and all the foam insulation had been redone. Stuffed wash rags and vents that didn't have coverings. Thankfully, we were able to find all the materials sitting in an abandoned home improvement center. Apparently nobody cared about those items. This made the foam insulation plentiful. We grabbed as much as we could carry and then sent the rest to the hub for trade, so everyone else could seal up as well. The sailors helped a lot with warm clothes, which was very much appreciated, and many good trades were made. So the main building was nice and warm. The kids had some warm winter gear, but not a ton. They could only play out in the snow for about a half an hour before they were ready to come in and thaw. There were 2 tremendous snow forts outside with accompanying trenches. The parents had all gone in on it also, and there had been many epic snow battles. A lot of the snow clothes had been made or modified by hand, where we couldn't get synthetic clothes for everyone. We insulated our winter wear with down from birds. Some of it we got ourselves, some of it was scavenged from pillows. The rest we traded around for. The second challenge was getting it all waterproofed. We used wax until the sailors were able to get us whale fat and taught us how to process bears for a similar method. The third challenge was keeping the wind off. To avoid that, the guys were going to be patrolling and holding defensive positions or hunting all got the best suits. We either had them milsurp or ECW gear. milsurp ECW gear, or we matched the system with what we could find. It was basically a breathable layer and then progressively heavier layers until a wind jacket or poncho if it was raining. The kids got smaller stuff so they could play, get exercise, and most importantly, socialize. We kept the kids coming indoors often to make sure they would keep dried out and didn't get frostbite or burn from the snow. Unfortunately, the snow would burn every part of the little kids that weren't covered up, so we had to be careful. We also had sunglasses for them all. It was quite fun and kept their eyes safe from the glare and projectiles. So here we were, all sitting, their clothes drying out. A few of them passed out from play exhaustion. Some light snacks getting handed out. Looked like cups of cereal, and they wanted to hear a story, about something that was both warm and cold. Kid logic made no sense whatsoever, but that's why it was always so much fun to talk to them. With everyone relaxing, I started. The story of Doug, 6 months before collapse, summer. Reality is that planning for a bug out unintuitively isn't a destination, it's a journey. Bug out plans are just like everything else, they take lots of steps. Also, you never put the bug out plan on one person or even have a single plan. You also need to have a bump plan in case you pick up extra people and extra gear. Bug out plans aren't a fantasy, they aren't a matter of if, but a matter of when. As the Pacific Northwest burned, and the winds blew the wrong direction, anyone who was stuck there all of a sudden became a number. All of a sudden you're a 1 or a 2 or maybe a 3. That means either be ready, get set, or go. There's no number 4. House-to-house communications is done at that point. Emergency services are pulling out, so what are you supposed to do when nobody will be able to save your house anymore? You have to have a bug out bag for every single person and an animal that you're taking. It means having a plan and a backup plan. It means knowing where your family is. It means when you're running away from a fire, don't drop your baby. Don't get stuck in gridlock on a freeway. Things like that. A lot of people realized that when they weren't running from civil unrest, they were running from a pissed off fire. When it wasn't a city fire, it was a forest fire. Fires can do things like seemingly teleport over rivers that they shouldn't be able to, burn only tops of trees or burn only the bottoms, or skip trees entirely and only destroy houses in the town. A fire that might have already burned up their perfect bug out location, a fire that might be blocking the road to their rally point with friends. At the end of the day, what really mattered was comms. If you didn't know what number you were, or what number your friends were, or whose side that roadblock crew up there is, what were you supposed to do? Some people had to evac, some didn't. Intel was spotty. Fire was moving too fast, and the wrong direction got you surrounded with no way out. Equipment that was supposed to be there was suddenly gone. Sometimes a spot would be cleared only for fires to suddenly start back up again. People starting fires would get arrested only to be let out with no repercussions and reoffend. Laws had no teeth for the protected class, and they could start fires through the summer months with impunity, block roads with impunity for months on end. But conservatives trying to save their town from looters? Checking ID, making sure people actually live in the town that's on an evac plan? Lock those patriots up and throw away the key. Property doesn't matter, only feelings. I remember a big intention was what to take. Maybe you had a loose plan of where to go, like heading away from the fire then cutting across. But did you even know what you were going to be taking with you? A lot of the things that people wanted to take should have already been where they were going to go. Ammo weighs a ton. Water weighs a ton. People wanted to take 8 different photo albums that they never even looked at. If those were so important, how come they never made a compact copy that could go with them everywhere? Then everyone wanted to bring deeds and passports and social security cards and on and on. Their house was likely going to cease to exist along with all the property around them. They didn't truly own the property anyway. And they think if their country falls apart, they're just going to fly somewhere, as if anyone would take them in. What a joke. These same geniuses didn't even keep their vehicles fueled up. They didn't keep any cash on hand, as briefly useful as it was. ATM machines ran out without an hour per of getting swarmed by panicked, unprepared people. The prices for everything was through the roof. Fuel was a fortune per gallon, if any existed at all. Water cost several dollars for a bottle that would last one person an hour at most. Food was non-existent. All communications were down. The situation had no control. The catalyst was different, but the two axioms persisted. Predator and prey. Chapter 2. Doug. To base camp. Pre-dawn. Day 1. On the road to the rally location, passing by desperate evacuees with nothing but their clothes on their backs and whatever they could throw in their suitcases. Doug didn't care who started the fire or who was going to finish it. He heard it was some punks lighting fireworks and throwing them into ravines full of tender, dry trees. This had been at least the third such fire of this style in the last few days, probably stupid copycat kids. There had been several others that were cigarette butt related, but those were easily extinguished. Several more looked like various Molotovs and glass bottles with water for the sun to amplify through.